Well, guys, it has been a long time since we have talked about the state of Oregon or the city of Portland, but here we go again.
Even straws are going to be distributed to drug users across Multnomah County. The goal is to prevent overdoses and save lives, but there are city leaders calling this misguided. Now to our Joelle Jones live tonight, digging deeper into this new controversial step. Joelle?
Yes, Liz. While this policy is new here in Portland, the county says smoking supplies have already been successfully integrated into harm reduction programs across the nation.
We're in a completely new situation. We need new innovative strategies.
A new controversial strategy to address the drug crisis is being rolled out by Multnomah County this month. Amid rising overdose deaths, today Public Health Director Jessica Guernsey confirmed the county will begin providing smoking supplies like tinfoil and straws, along with pipes and snorting kits to drug users as part of their existing harm reduction program.
The new part of the program is that we're adding supplies for people who smoke drugs. We've seen a shift in injection drug use to smoking drug use so that we can engage people who may not otherwise engage in services.
We're told this addition comes at the request of the county's public health team, just a little more than a week after they presented on the success of their syringe exchange program. Still, not all are convinced this is a good use of taxpayer dollars, like Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, who stated today, quote, "I adamantly oppose distributing paraphernalia to encourage using a drug that is the leading cause of death for Americans under 50 and responsible for 190 fatal overdoses a day in the U.S. This misguided approach also results in a greater risk to public safety for those who simply want to enjoy our city without walking through a cloud of toxic smoke." As one of those responsible for this recommendation, we asked Guernsey for a response to the mayor's concerns.
I follow the science, and the science tells us that programs like syringe exchange and harm reduction saves lives, and that's what we do in public health. I think that's a shared interest we have. And, I know some of these methods can be controversial, but that's what we're really looking at. We're looking at the severe, risk of overdose and death and using the science to build a bridge.
I really and truly do not see how this is going to help, but also to go ahead and add to this entire little ordeal. Why is it that Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, the guy that many people suspected of being the secret head of Antifa in that area, why is it that he just now cares about this? Why is he just now doing this? Well, there's a reason for it. The safety commissioner or the police commissioner, whatever you might want to call him in the city of Portland, has basically told just about everybody there that, look, unless you're about to literally die of a heart attack or whatnot, please do us a favor and do not call the cops. We will get to this here in a second because Tim Poole did a bit of a piece on this right here. And I talked a little bit about liberal sensibilities in the previous video, but little did I know that liberal sensibilities is what the hell really truly got us into this. And yes, I'm kind of borrowing from him because it was a line from the movie Watchmen. It was a line from the comic Watchmen, not the HBO miniseries that they did that just absolutely sucked. But of course, I'm talking about the film, the one that Zack Snyder did in 2009, the one that would later on get a director's cut and then would get an ultimate cut that was like 3 hours long. I know because I bought the daggone thing. And because it had a very, very cool trailer, I went to go see the film. And I actually am one of the few people out there who actually liked the film. And of course, we got to talk about the character of Rorschach, which, by the way, many people are thinking at that character and thinking about what he stood for in the comic. And you're kind of seeing this today. Now, guys, I did a video earlier today on the situation in Philadelphia where you had two liberal journalists, two people who were very, very much on the side of BLM and defund the police. They got killed in the city where they wanted those policies to exist. I mean, is it just me, or does it just feel like people are just like getting what it is that they vote for? But anyway, what's going on is that they don't want you to call the cops. They don't want you to call 911. I mean, this is also the same state that recently passed an ordinance that basically said that if someone who is homeless is actually on your property, you can't kick them off. You can't tell them to leave. You could even get arrested if you do so. Basically, taking away private property is what they did. Fact of the matter is that Portland, Oregon has already got a high enough drug problem, a high enough fentanyl problem. They got people dying all over the place. And the recent measures that they've actually put in place, many people feel that this right here will only make the problems a lot worse, because what you're doing is you're giving people basically more access to the ways that they can actually abuse themselves. I mean, fentanyl is a very, very, very big deal in this nation. Of course, we all know where it's coming from. It's coming from the border. And I did a piece on it a while back where it's actually also, for some odd reason, it's actually coming from China too. China is sending it to Mexico. It's coming through the border, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know how it actually gets through. But when I listened to Mr. Poole talk about this issue today, I couldn't help but notice that he at one point in time was very, very much in favor of like letting people have controlled substances in controlled areas. I, at one point in time, kind of thought about that for a second, but then I realized that I'm not exactly that dumb. The reason why I say that is because if you let people continue to use it in controlled areas, and what I mean by controlled areas is like public areas, public sectors where you have like a room or whatnot, people after a while are just going to eventually just start to abuse it. They're going to use it more and more and more often. There are people out there who can do it the casual way, where they go in there, do it recreationally 1 or 2 times, and then leave. Then you got what you call the serial addicts, who then eventually go out of their way to do more and more and more stuff. You don't give an addict more things that, quite frankly, could intensify their actual habit. To me, I see these straw holes as a good old-fashioned way of making their habit a lot worse. But I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to this. We're going to come back on the other side. And there's also one more thing, and of course, that's what I mentioned earlier, the whole thing of Rorschach and why it is that that comic book character is suddenly being brought up during this entire ordeal.
Portland has instructed people not to call 911 unless they're at risk of death, as woke Democrat-run city struggles to cope with slew of ODs. If businesses are shutting down, people are fleeing the city. And now the public safety commissioner is like, just don't call 911. Sorry, unless you're going to die. So now if you're getting robbed, if your house is getting broken into, they're going to be like, sir, what's happening? Quick, help. Someone's breaking into my house. Well, are you dying? No. Okay, well, call us back if you do. It's the funny thing, not to call unless you're at risk of death. How do you define that? Are you saying like that if someone's committing a crime against someone else, but you're not sure if there's a risk of death, you don't call? Dude, there's always a risk of death in these crimes. If someone like breaks their leg or something, you call 911, help, I broke my leg, we need an ambulance, ASAP, it's bad, it's a femoral break or something. You get an ambulance. You call 911, it's an emergency. Well, can you die from it? I guess technically if I hit my femoral artery or whatever. In what circumstance would anybody need to call 911 where there is no risk of death, right? That's why it's kind of like the statement is meaningless. But the point is, this is what I'm getting at. They're basically saying, just call us a little bit less. Your commissioner has told people not to call 911 unless they're at risk of death. Commissioner Renee Gonzalez told locals that its emergency service hotline was overwhelmed with people calling about members of the public suffering fentanyl overdoses. Oregon decriminalized hard drug use 3 years ago. Hey, it's called opportunity. It only made things worse.
Now, you guys obviously saw the Beanie Guy. And like I said before, when the Beanie Guy gets things correct, I will praise him. And I'll actually say, hey, look, he had a very, very good point here, but he may be missing something. Let's add a little bit more. And of course, if I feel like I need to criticize him, I will criticize him. You guys know me. I will praise you when you do something correctly, and I will criticize you when you do something incorrectly or you have a very bad take. I remember it was 2020. Obviously, you guys remember the riots. You remember the whole COVID lockdowns, all that type of stuff. I'm pretty sure the vast majority of you guys remember this. Tim was actually on the side of defund the police, and then it became abolish the police. And of course, he would eventually come out later on and say, hey, look, maybe we should keep law enforcement around and not get rid of the police, or maybe we should get rid of the police and keep law enforcement around, meaning deputy sheriff, small towns, stuff like that. I actually am starting to agree with what Sticks Hexenhammer said, that maybe what we should do is make, instead of police departments, maybe what we should do is just make them all sheriff's departments, so that way we can hold the sheriff accountable every 2 to 4 years, who in turn usually holds the deputies accountable based upon their actual performance, because as we already know, sheriffs, you got to vote them in and vote them out. It's just the way that it is. But I said something back in 2020 in a video that, quite frankly, I have regretted taking down for a very long time. This is back in the days where I thought you could get rid of a video and YouTube wouldn't penalize you for it. But, of course, they punish you in the algorithm, because if you delete a video, after a while, YouTube says, we don't know which piece of content we actually want to go viral. Well, then you have to rely on your subscriber count. Meaning you got to get to a certain amount of subscribers before a video actually takes off through the algorithm and gets you, like, I guess you could say, 6 digits worth of views. The video I did is why you don't want to defund your police departments, why you don't want to defund the police, okay? And here's the main reason why you don't want to do that, and I'll reiterate the point that I made in that video there. The real reason why you don't want to defund your police departments is because when you do, in fact, call 911, say if it is an ambulance, you're trying to call somebody to say, I don't know, get to grandma while she's having a heart attack, somebody's getting a stroke, somebody's having a stroke, somebody may have a dementia episode. It doesn't matter. When that phone call was put in there, the first person who's going to go to your location is actually not the paramedics. It's actually going to be the police department. The reason why is because the police have gotten ensured that the scene is actually secure, because EMTs, EMS, and fire, they are less inclined to go to a location, especially if it's a gang location or a location that's known for crime. There's a reason why it is that EMTs always ask, is the scene safe? They always ask, is the scene secure? I learned this when I went through EMT school back in 2009 and even 2010. I didn't pass, I didn't graduate, but I at least learned that much. Now, Portland, Oregon did not pull a Chaz chop in the way that Seattle pulled a Chaz. And one of the things that occurred at Chaz was that, number one, these people claimed that they were against walls because they were all anti-Trump and all open borders and everything, yet they put up walls the minute they took over that little area. Other things that happened was the leadership devolved into being ran by a SoundCloud rapper. Then you had the original person who led the group, who was actually a trans, go post on Twitter that they were actually in the, they're kind of thinking about self-deletion a little bit. Guess they were a very, very weird way here on YouTube, or else you might get, the video may get demonetized. Other things that, of course, occurred was that eventually people got hurt and they needed the cops to come in. The cops, quite frankly, said, screw this, we're not going to go in. This also included paramedics, and of course it included fire and rescue. They just said, screw it, we're not going to go in there. You people didn't want us in there, so screw it, you guys are on your own. Fact of the matter is that a lot of people in Portland, Oregon are looking at this situation saying, you know what, man, if the cops ain't going to come to me, what the hell am I going to do? You're basically leaving people there, for the most part, up the creek without a paddle. You've basically put your thumb in their rear. But then again, at the same time, if I recall correctly, the people in Portland, Oregon did, in fact, vote for this. I mean, hell, it's been an Antifa hellhole since about 2016-17 time frame, probably even a lot earlier than that. Fact of the matter is that the city, quite frankly, did it to itself. But about that Rorschach guy, let's watch the next few minutes here and come back on the other side. And let me just go ahead and kind of elaborate further on what it is that he's talking about, because, of course, like always, it could be a little bit hyperbolic, but let's watch it all the way through. We'll come back on the other end.
Fentanyl. But anyway, people are ODing. As a result, he urged people to only call 911 in a life or death emergency. As it was revealed, paramedics had been called to deal with 8 suspected fentanyl overdoses in the city's once Tony Pearl district. Well, duh. If someone's overdosing, they're going to die. Portland's neighborhoods have been overrun with crime, homelessness, drugs since the pandemic. And despite pouring funds into relief initiatives, little change is occurring on the streets of the city. Why? It's a cultural problem. There is no monetary solution to a systemic, social, civilizational problem. Commissioner Renee Gonzalez wrote on X, our 911 system is getting hammered this morning with a multiple person incident, multiple overdoses in Northwest Park blocks. Jeez, man. Your city has been gutted and destroyed, not just by your politicians, but because of these delicate, fat, liberal sensibilities. Dude, it reminds me of that scene. I love that scene in Watchmen. You're not supposed to look up to Rorschach because he's a nasty dude. He's a moral absolutist, but a lot of people are getting fed up, man. So who was it? Was it Alan Moore who did Watchmen, I think? And a lot of people were actually celebrating the character Rorschach. Many of you may be saying, I don't know what you're talking about, Tim. Let me explain. In the movie/comic, graphic novel for those that are true diehards, Rorschach is a vigilante who wears a mask that looks like a Rorschach painting. It's like, the ink blot, right? And there are 2 prominent scenes. The first is when he decides, when he discovers the true degree, like when he breaks the limit, where he decides to kill people. And it's because he discovers a man who kidnapped a little girl and did horrible things. And so he just snaps. Then there's the scene where he gets arrested because being a vigilante is illegal, but he kills this child abuser in the movie. And then there's a scene where he's sitting with this psychologist in prison, and he's like, I don't like you, your fat liberal sensibilities. And so many people cheer this guy on. Why? I don't think he's a guy you want to emulate, really. but there is something about people getting tired of these weak, effeminate individuals who are allowing our cities of this once
liberal sensibilities was something I spoke of in the previous video, and I was actually glad that he said that, because in a lot of ways it was the liberal sensibilities that kind of got us in this situation. We've gotten soft, we've gotten softer and softer and softer. You know what? How the hell do we stop the drug addict from doing drugs? Well, we take them to do rehab, we take them to do this, we take them to do that. Oh wait, screw it. You know what? I know how to fix it. We're going to give him more drugs. Oh, we're going to give him these straws, which, by the way, he or she is probably going to use to find a brand new method of how to actually utilize the drugs. How it is that we plan on smoking crack a different way. Oh, we're going to use this for other things. I hate to tell you this, guys, but addicts, criminals, they're resourceful. If they want to commit a crime, or if they want to do something, guess what? They're going to do it. It's just the way that it is. It's like I've always told people about gun violence. If somebody commits a crime with a firearm, guess what? More than likely, they were probably going to commit that crime with another weapon. Probably a knife, they could have used a bomb, anything like that there. They're going to find a way to do it. I remember back when the whole Nice event happened, the one where the bus, the dump truck, whatever it was, plowed through 83 people. That guy didn't use a firearm. He used a truck. All right. Fact of the matter is, if somebody wants to commit a crime, they are, in fact, going to commit a crime. And the mere fact that the city of Portland has basically said, do not call us for this, do not call us for that there. We're not going to come to you. That right there is a pretty good sign that something could be wrong. By the way, we were saying there earlier about a broken leg. That is a possibility. I have heard of guys injuring their legs and breaking their femur bone and actually causing some serious damage. I mean, I think I saw a while back, I think it was a video from Think Before You Sleep. He was responding to Noah Sampson. And he basically was talking about Lara Croft video games, of course, the way women are being sexualized. And they thought that the character of Lara Croft, if you ever played Tomb Raider, the video game, was dressed up a little bit too skimpy. And Noah didn't seem to get that. And of course, Think I'm kind of sour on Think too. I'll explain in the video. He explained that the reason why obviously she's going to be wearing those sleek shorts and whatnot, so that way she can move around a little bit faster. It's just common sense. Even though it looks a little bit sexualized, there's obviously a reason for it. And of course, if you get shot in the leg, guess what? If that bullet stays, say, in your calf and you don't get to it, if it turns gangrenous, it could kill you. You may have to amputate that leg. You could get sick. You could die. I mean, Civil War General Albert Sidney Johnston of the Confederacy, he got shot in the leg. That's how he died at the Battle of Shiloh. Arm wounds are typically something else, but of course, if you hit somebody right in the inner thigh, or if you hit somebody right there in that little meaty portion right under the quadricep, or right inside the quadricep, you could hit the femoral artery and actually die. So yes, this right here is serious, but I do want to go ahead and make one final point. This is going to be the longest point. This right here is about the whole liberal sensibilities and, of course, the whole thing with Rorschach's. If you've ever read the Watchmen graphic novel, or if you ever watched the film, then you would know who the character of Rorschach is, okay? He used to have a Rorschach on his face, where his mask would turn to a Rorschach. He was very gritty. He was very dirty. He was an extremely morally righteous person. And, of course, what I think what really shaped him was actually the fact that his mother was a prostitute. Tim left that out. Now, I'm not the biggest comic book guy in the world. My comic book character primarily, my favorite one is Batman. I always love the Punisher, and of course, I always have a thing for Spider-Man. But still, at the same time, though, I'm not completely unschooled when it comes to Watchmen. But if you know anything else and I get something wrong and you know more about it, please leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to learn something new every day. The thing is this right here. Rorschach's character, he was molded in the environment that he was in. And Alan Moore never really and truly wanted the character of Rorschach to be loved or liked. People left the theater back in 2009 when that movie came out, and they actually liked the character because he was somebody willing to take a stand against anything and everything wrong with the world. That was not Alan Moore's intention. He wanted the character to be respected, but he wanted people to look at the background. He wanted to look at what made him, and he wanted to look at the fact that he may go too far. Alan Moore, of course, obviously hated the way that character was portrayed in Zack Snyder's version of the film. But then again, that Alan Moore hates everything that you take from him, especially when you portray it in film. He does have a legitimate gripe, however, with the Killing Joke. Of course, I didn't think that. But back on topic. Fact of the matter is this right here. People at some point in time are eventually going to begin to get tired of this, and they're going to want somebody who's much, much stronger, much, much more masculine. I talked about this in the Rodney Harrison video. It's going to be coming out I went ahead and bumped it down to 2 o'clock. They're going to want much, much stronger, much, much more masculine figures around to take care of problems like this. You see, you voted to defund your police department. Look at what the hell is happening. You got drugs all over the street. You got crime everywhere. You got Antifa everywhere, even though they've been quiet recently. But now you got all these drug overdoses. And right now, the state of Oregon has told you that you cannot remove somebody who's camping out on your front lawn You cannot ask them to leave without possibly getting arrested yourself. The people who are running this area are, in fact, the liberal sensibility crowd. They're the people that, quite frankly, think, well, the best way to cure this problem, the best way to help somebody out who has got thoughts of self-deletion is to give him the weapon. That's who these people are, okay? And yeah, you would probably sit here and say that they're heartless, and the vast majority of them are really and truly heartless and soulless. But at the same time, there is definitely a very, very large swath of these people. Really, the biggest swath of these people are, how do I say this, just extremely weak. I mean, it's the crowd that we have to remind all the time that the road to hell is paved with good intention. And your good intentions are oftentimes bad intentions. You don't fix the problem with the addict by giving them more drugs, okay? You don't fix the problem with the homeless by giving this person the piece of somebody else's lawn, somebody who actually worked for it, paid the taxes, bought the property, whatnot. Even though the vast majority of these people kind of voted for these policies, it is their fault. But the fact of the matter is, it still isn't right. It still isn't correct. But I do want to make one last point. I know I said the Rorschach thing was going to be the last point, but this right is my last point. This right here is the biggest reason why it is that these people will never, ever, 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 under any circumstances, ever win a civil conflict ever. If this country was to get invaded and the cities were to get it, I can promise you right now, the vast majority of these people would welcome these people in with open arms, not realizing what the hell they're doing. They're actually welcoming in their own death, their own doom. That's who these people are. They are very, very weak. However, the problem is, when the hell does their weakness begin to affect everyone else? And that right there is the reason why people like myself and people on this platform actually exist, to stop these people from getting other people hurt or harmed. With that right there being said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. Thursday and Friday and Saturday is going to be very, very wonky as far as scheduling is concerned. I'm going to have 3 videos out tomorrow. Part of the reason why I'm having 3 videos out tomorrow is because I really and truly don't know what's going to happen on Thursday. I meant to do the TradCon video this past weekend, but of course I wasn't able to get all the stuff, but I'll try to have it out. It may be a while. Like I said, a lot of these projects may be moved to next year because of the fact of going to video essay form, but don't worry, we'll be getting into that stuff in more detail in other videos. Make sure you guys, once again, hit the like button. If you're new here, please subscribe, hit the notifications bell, share the video, share it to friends and family. Please leave a comment. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts. I'll see you guys later.